Feedback is information students and teachers share during learning so that students can close the gap between their current level of performance and the learning goals. The way teachers provide feedback in dialogue with students determines how effective it is and whether students can use it to improve. Feedback must pertain to the learning goals and to the criteria that describe what success looks like. This segment shows teachers planning their lessons and connecting their feedback to learning goals and success criteria. As they are planning with the end in mind, they identify what students are to learn using the curriculum as a starting point.
So what is it that we want our students to have learned by the end of this math unit?
What I would like to look at is determining the relationships among units and measurable attributes, including the area of a trapezoid and then specifically the volume of a right prism. So using what we built on first term, the calculation of the area.
Next, they unpack the expectations by identifying clear learning goals.
What I'm going to ask you to do is to copy this learning goal into your math journal. And as you're doing that, I want you to think about it because I'm going to ask you to tell me what it means. So I'm going to ask you to share with a partner and then share with the whole class what this learning goal actually is. What does it really mean?
Similarly, they plan how students will demonstrate what they know and are able to do, determine the criteria for success, and identify ways to ensure students understand this criteria. As part of their instructional planning, they determine ways to ensure students understand the criteria for success.
Well, we could develop a rubric.
And we can have the students actually come up with some of the criteria for the rubric?
Yeah, and we can show them strong and weak work from their solutions with problems involving area from previous unit and how they can build on that for the volume.
I think I also have some exemplars, and that would really help to clarify the criteria for the students.
Encouraging students to ask questions helps clarify their understanding.
So make sure when you're putting your learning down in your journal that you are using the right word at the right time. Yeah.
What's the difference between terminology and notation?
It's related to what we were just talking about. So terminology means that you have to make
Exemplars, anchors, and samples are particularly useful for developing, describing, and clarifying success criteria, while being accessible at different points in the learning cycle.
Now, what makes a good math journal? Well, it's a good question. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at examples of student work. We're going to look at stronger examples and try to determine from those stronger examples what makes it a strong example, what criteria have been met in order to make it strong. And then we're going to look at weaker ones and see how they can be improved to meet that expectation.
Having students analyze samples of strong and weak work helps them come to a common understanding of what success looks like.
I'm just going to start a list of what you have identified as things that are making this a strong journal entry. So it's neat. They have examples, labels. What else do you think? Kiana.
They're explaining themselves straight through.
The same exemplars help students when assessing what they have learned.
So we have looked at different examples of stronger and weaker math journals in order to determine criteria that you need to meet in your math journals to make sure that your communication of your understanding of the learning goal is very clear. I'm going to write a checklist on the board that I want you to include in your journal that you can use to self-assess as you are going through your math journal entry, and you can also use it to peer assess when you're looking at a colleague's work.
Whether feedback is oral or written, it is most effective when it pertains directly to clear learning goals and success criteria.
that you've included pictures. Okay, you clearly identified which one is the short cylinder and which one is the tall cylinder. Okay, I like that you've put the formula at the top and then you're showing me that you're substituting in the values. Your answer is expressed to me in cubic centimeters, which is great. Okay, you're correct that I would like you to flesh out a little bit your explanation as to, now that you've figured out that they do have different volumes, what is it that's changing that allows them to have different volumes?
What I thought that I can do better is that I can explain why this one is larger than the other one.
Why the volume is larger?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
As a final step in their planning, they identify critical checkpoints in the learning cycle, points at which assessment, feedback, and action are required to determine who is learning and who needs additional or alternative instruction. Feedback during learning allows students to make the appropriate adjustments en route to the learning goal. It is feedback that supports students in the act of production. A viewer's guide has been developed to enhance your professional learning. Please refer to the guide for more detailed information about connecting feedback to learning goals and success criteria, research references, and access to a variety of learning activities.